Hey, welcome back to this channel. My name is Salvador Briggman, and on today's video, we are going to be going through an incredible campaign that was recently run by Brandon Sanderson in partnership with Brotherwise Games. And this creator has also launched other mega campaigns. If you don't know, he is a prolific fantasy author, and in today's video I not only want to show you what is possible, but also some new tactics, trends, and strategies so you can go out there, you can crush it, whether you have a tabletop game, whether you're doing a fantasy novel, or even a physical product, a gadget, or a gizmo. You can take away some tidbits of what's working right now on Kickstarter. So let's get into it. So let's kick this video off with a little bit of the news, which is that this has recently set a Kickstarter record for Cosmere RPG. This is a role-playing game. Now, if you got to go through a little bit of the news announcement, you maybe have seen or heard of Brandon Sanderson's name before. And that's because he's a very prolific fantasy author who also ran a very successful Kickstarter campaign that I covered in another video. I'll link to that video down below in the description of this video so you can go and check it out. But when it comes to this specific campaign, it was a blockbuster, and he teamed up with Brotherwise Games, which have also launched around a dozen other Kickstarter campaigns out there for tabletops, RPGs, and a lot of other styles of tabletop games. They launched this campaign, and guess what? This campaign not only is now still raising funds in late pledges, but it also broke another Kickstarter record for being one of the top funded campaigns in the games category. So you can see this here. Brotherwise Games and Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere breaks record for most funded game on Kickstarter. Now, so many people have come to me and be like, Sal, is Kickstarter still relevant this year? I know that you got back into the industry in 2012 and it was like a huge thing there with the Pebble Watch and, all these mega campaigns that were happening, Veronica Mars, Spike Lee. There's a lot of really interesting campaigns going out there. Is it still relevant today? And what I have to say is, look at this. We are still having campaigns that are breaking record on Kickstarter, on Indiegogo, in the RPG category, in the novel category, as well in the tabletop game category, physical gadgets and gizmos, design products. So to me, this is one of the easiest times ever to run a campaign. And there are a couple of other reasons I want to talk about why that is in this video. But let's kind of go through just a tiny bit of this first of all. So first of all, what you notice is that there's another now new social media channel, which is TikTok, right? And Brandon Sanderson is quite active, as you can see here on TikTok, posting information about his upcoming projects, engaging with his fans. So this is a great social media marketing strategy where if you are a creator and you want to build a brand for yourself, you can begin to do short form videos leading up to the launch of a campaign. We saw that in terms of one of the podcasts I did with Pluffle, which is a dog bed for humans. And if you haven't watched or listened to that podcast, you can listen to my podcast, Crowdfunding Demystified. Listen to it on the go, on the way to work, as you're going out there, you're going for a walk or for a hike, or even just going to the gym. You can listen to my podcast and learn at the same time. And in this episode, Pluffle, which was a dog bed for humans, we actually saw a really interesting example of this. This was episode number 397 of my show, which showed new techniques that allowed this team that was literally in college, right, in their early 20s, to be able to raise $290,000 on Kickstarter. And what I talked about in this episode was the fact that you can use TikTok and short form video mediums in order to build a launch list or wait list leading up to the launch of your campaign and to promote it while you're live. And this converted for these guys. You can go and listen to this episode and see and discover how they were able to use TikTok in order to stand out above the pack. But Brandon Sanderson is also doing that. And one thing you should be aware, if you do have a lot of different websites and links that you can really send people to, a great resource out there is Linktree. So Linktree, if you click this Linktree, you'll see a bunch of different resources, CTAs, videos. When people always come to me and like struggle, like I don't know how to promote multiple things that I have going, you can always set up a Linktree and you can link that to your TikTok, to your Instagram, or any other social media platform. So the first takeaway that you should come from this video is that there are so many social media marketing channels when it comes to running a Kickstarter campaign. I have a great video out there on how to promote your campaign on social media, but whether it's short form video, whether you're doing more traditional mediums like Facebook or Instagram, or even longer form content, putting out videos is a great way to warm up your audience, to get them excited, to get to know you, and also the product itself that you're raising money for. There are many ways in which you can get the word out when it comes to your campaign. The second thing is one of these strategies that I've been talking about for a while now, which is that there is a unique way in which you can blow past your funding goal, in which you can tap into new audiences, and more importantly, you can have a campaign that soars in the charts, and that is through partnerships. I've had several successful campaigns recently that were all the results of partnerships. So when it comes to partnerships, what do I mean? I mean either partnering with an influencer, having two different collaborations cross industry. So for example, with this one, you can see here on the page, right? Brotherwise Games, an RPG expert and games publisher, partnering with Brandon Sanderson, who is more of an author and more of a fantasy writer in that way. When you have collaborations, cross collaborations, not only does it have audience crossover, but if you're working with an influencer, they can also promote the campaign on your behalf. They can star in your video. They can give you a great testimonial, and it really makes it so it's a lot easier to have a campaign that ignites, that starts to get people taking action and get really excited. The other little tidbit that I'd like to address and also share with you on this video is that if we go here and we take a look at the structure of this campaign, the first thing that I really noticed that helped maintain momentum with this campaign are stretch goals. Now, we have a lot of podcast episodes and videos out there on stretch goals, but this is one way in which you can incentivize people to continue to back, support, and share your campaign as you are live on the Kickstarter platform. Stretch goals are one of those things where people love to participate in a project if you're able to hit bigger and bigger milestones, and it's almost like they're playing a game alongside with you, trying to get the funding meter tick up and up. So stretch goals, I think, are one great example of how this game was able to trend in the charts and continue to have momentum. But also, if we take a look at the rewards here, which I thought was actually really interesting, if we take a look at these rewards, if we count them up, I think there's around 7 rewards here when it comes to this specific project. I think it's around 7, yeah. Maybe like 6 core tiers, if we want to kind of put it that way. So this is very different from many other projects that we might see on Kickstarter, or a lot of my students who are booking individual one-on-one coaching calls with me, which I'll tell you about more at the end of this video, or students who are writing in, they might have like 12 different reward tiers and a lot of options. And one of the things I always try to say is kind of what my father said to me, which is KISS. And like the PG version of that is keep it simple, silly, right? So you want to be able to keep it simple, because when you have too many options with rewards, a lot of the times it creates analysis paralysis, which is actually a marketing term where you might think, like from a theory perspective, if you have lots of options, people get really excited and they have many different items to choose from and rewards to select. But in reality, when you have many options, people then start to wonder which one is the best for them. And instead of taking action, that anxiety they feel causes them to not take action. So from a marketing or psychological perspective, you want to have fewer rewards, fewer choices, and that means that people are going to be able to make choices much more quickly. And there are many psychological studies on that as well. They've done ones with like flavors of ice cream where you can offer someone like 20 flavors to choose from versus 3, 4, or 5, and they're more likely to end up happy if you have a smaller selection when it comes to that. You can look up some of those psychological studies on your own time. I always find it very fascinating. But anyway, to get back to this, so in terms of their structure, right, they have, as we mentioned, around 6 or 7 reward tiers here. But what's interesting is they then have many different add-ons, as you can see here on my screen, for each of those individual reward tiers. So what it does is it locks someone into a choice first before then presenting additional options. And these options can then add to the order value of that person checking out, and thus causes them to have a much higher overall pledge when they go and they come away from that Kickstarter campaign. So I love this idea of having add-ons. Add-ons is a new feature which is not always available with Kickstarter, as is late pledges. That's a new feature as well when it comes to running a Kickstarter campaign. So one other thing to be aware of. The next thing I want to talk about has to do with communication. And that's because I think that communication is quite challenging. This is an area of my life and of the lives of my students that I think pretty much we all just struggle with. And it's how do you maintain positive and good communication with backers, with people that are interested, that are following you. And a lot of times we shy away from communicating when it comes to our projects. But in reality, if we take a look at the number of updates with this campaign, it's going to really paint a stark contrast when it comes to that. So let's look at this. These guys have had 22 updates over the course of their campaign, which is thereabouts, I believe, around 24 days, which they ran this project, sort of around that. So they're pretty much having a significant number of Kickstarter updates, as you can see here on my screen. These updates allow them to stay in touch with the community. People are commenting, people are liking this. They're really viewing this almost as an experience where they're hitting new milestones, they're being able to chat with each other, they're communicating with the creator. It's giving that kind of like backstage pass feel, which is one great thing with tabletop specifically. However, I got to put a huge asterisk on this, which is that frequent updates only work well for certain categories on Kickstarter. So you have to be aware of the category you're launching in, because with some categories, doing more updates is actually not encouraged, because, for example, like if it's a physical product, it might be an impulse buy, and more updates might cause you cancellations and pledges. So there are many different little tidbits about that I'll talk about towards the end of this video. And if you've been liking this video so far, give me a thumbs up. Come subscribe if you want more content like this. Leave a comment down below if you like this style of video as well, where I'm kind of going through a new news announcement. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. So there are two items that I'd like to leave you with when it comes to today's YouTube video, which is number one, the video, right? If you look at Brandon Sanderson's video here on Kickstarter, a lot of the times I will have students come to me, or they'll write in like really angry and like, Sal, I don't understand. You keep saying to do a short video, but here's an example of a campaign with a long video, and like, you don't know what you're talking about, right? You're spouting nonsense. Well, first of all, hey, great to meet you. Never met you before, but when it comes to doing a video, there are always examples that fall outside the norm. And what I teach is really best practices, because we're trying to raise and increase the number of people that are successful with their campaigns. So the one thing I will say is that it really boils down to one simple principle, which is you don't want to be boring. You don't want to go long a lot of times, because it's very hard to maintain attention. A lot easier to have a short, snappy, engaging video, no matter what category you're launching. So if we look at Brandon Sanderson's video here, it's around a 6-minute video, which is definitely longer than I would recommend for the average students. What we notice, though, first of all, is that there are lots of beautiful, actual photos of the illustration. You also got some animation here as you're going through the video, bringing it to life, capturing your attention, maintaining your attention, and then getting into Brandon Sanderson talking to the camera with that beautiful backdrop, one that I envy myself. We got to improve the backdrop here right at Crowdcrux, but that's a great backdrop with these books and that vibe. So you're getting a lot of different stuff here that's maintaining your attention, the illustration, the look and quality of the book, right, that he has here. So there's a lot of items that he's included to maintain attention. And what I would say is that a cool thing about this video is it not only works off of his previous experience doing a Kickstarter, but it also makes you get a sense of like the quality of the production. So it's okay to go longer if you can maintain attention, you can include some of these elements, and even just being able to speak to the camera can be quite challenging. I mean, even for myself, right? I think it's always a little bit anxious and daunting to realize that people are on the other side of this little camera here, and you guys can see me, and you kind of get a feel for like what my personality is like, how I kind of crack jokes sometimes, and how sometimes I'm really passionate when I talk, right? You really get a sense of what Sal is like, and your viewers, your backers will also get that sense, which builds rapport and also brand when it comes to your product launch. The last thing I'm going to say on this video is that this is a great example of a collaboration. We're seeing more and more of this strategy working extremely well on Kickstarter, which is cross-vertical or cross-industry collaborations. Example, fantasy novel and tabletop game RPG. So we're seeing more and more cross collaborations, but also within a specific project, we're seeing cross collaborations where, for example, someone's working with a new influencer with their campaign and bringing that into their campaign to accelerate the progress. And that's happened recently, with my own examples, quite well. So this is one thing that you should be aware of, is this idea of cross collaborations. The final thing I'm I'm going to leave you with here on this video is really for people that are fed up with not winning. If you are finally at the point where you're ready to do this right, whether this is on the offset and you want to start this off strong, this process, and you recognize the value of hand-holding, guidance, step-by-step mentorship going into a complicated process. You want to surround yourself with the right people. You want to make sure that when you're going out there with your campaign, you're not just like, kind of successful, but you are blowing through your Kickstarter campaign funding goal, whether it's on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or another form of crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding, Patreon, whatever it is. One of the things that I offer is individual one-on-one coaching calls. And these are intensive coaching sessions where we go through where you are and the gap between where you are and where you need to be. So whether that's from a marketing perspective, that could be from the obstacles that are in your path and how we can plow through these together. These are designed to be one-off individual coaching calls and be extremely useful. You come out of that session feeling confident, poised, ready, and knowing exactly what to do when it comes to the road ahead. If you're going out there and you're trying to, go hiking and you don't have a guide, you got to figure out the path on your own and blaze that trail. It's quite challenging. But if you can just follow a guide up the mountain, it's much easier and you're not having to do as much work. So first of all, go down below and book your individual one-on-one coaching call if you're finally ready and you're fed up with not winning and you want to have a powerful campaign going into this launch experience. Go down below at the link crowdcrux.com/coaching. Crowdcrux, crowdcrux.com/coaching will take you there. Whether you're in the ideation, idea stage, or you're further along with the prototype, or even getting up and gearing up to the launch of a campaign next couple of months or weeks, this is a great time to do this. And the sooner you book, the more profound impact that I can have on your results and on your outcomes. So go down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching and you can book your individual one-on-one coaching call. But regardless of whether or not you do, I put out these videos to help you, man, to motivate you, to show you what's possible. So go out there and kick some ass, take names, move your project forward, toot your own horn, and hopefully by the time you launch, you'll end up either coming on my podcast as a success story, or you'll end up sharing your story with the community. It would mean so much to me if you take a second to subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.